War fears as China vows punishment on Australia for Taiwan support, long range strikes. Chinese media has warned Australia that Beijing could target the country's military bases in response to their support for Taiwan. Australia has a strong relationship with Taiwan and backs the country's independence from mainland China. In response, Beijing state media outlets have threatened to strike Canberra's military bases as punishment for their support for Taiwan. The Global Times, a Chinese state media outlet, has warned Australia hawks not to get involved with Taiwan. Hu Xing, editor-in-chief of the outlet, said, "I suggest China make a plan to impose retaliatory punishment against Australia once it militarily interferes in the cross-strait situation. The plan should include long-range strikes on the military facilities and relevant key facilities on Australia's soil if it really sends its troops to China offshore areas and combats against the PLA, People's Liberation Army." The editor then added Beijing needs to send a strong message to deter the extreme forces of Australia from committing irresponsible actions. And an opinion piece published in the outlet, Mr. Hu then said punishment for Australia's support for Taiwan could spell disaster. He added they must know what disasters they would cause to their country if they are bold enough to coordinate with the US to militarily interfere in the Taiwan question. China regards Taiwan as a breakaway province and has threatened to reunite the island with the mainland by force. Peter Dutton, Australia Defence Minister, has not ruled out a conflict with China over Taiwanese independence, but added he hopes the government can maintain good relations. Speaking to ABC's Insider, China has been very clear about the reunification, and that's been a long-held objective of theirs. They have been very clear about that goal. People need to be realistic about the activity. There is militarization of bases across the region. Obviously, there is significant amount of activity and there is animosity between Taiwan and China. Recently, China's National Development and Reform Commission said it would indefinitely suspend all activities under the China-Australia Strategic Economic Dialogue. It followed Beijing suspending or imposing restrictions on Australian imports such as coal, beef and timber. The Economic Planning Agency said it made the decision because Canberra's Cold War mindset and ideological discrimination had disrupted cooperation. Yi Ma-song, a senior researcher at the China Institute for Innovation and Development Strategy at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, told the South China Morning Post, "Unlike other countries have conflicts with China, Australia's motives are ideological, and they think they can separate economic cooperation from ideological confrontation." Professor Joe Sirkao, Curtin University professor and political analyst, also warned Sky News Australia China merely has to blockade and disrupt sea lanes into Australia to deliver a sizable blow. He said it would mean Australia would die a slow and lingering death, as the two nations have fallen over good exports and COVID probes. Professor Sirkazwa added, "No one goes to invade Australia, no one going to coming through the Sydney Head with combat troops. All is going to do is just choke Australia by blocking the sea lanes and communication, and Australia will die a long lingering death." So it's not good to be dramatic. On the other hand, Australia has an important role to play. Small to medium-sized players have the ability to be interlocutors in the quarrels between the great powers. Thank you.